When I Fall by Scarlet Emerald 32. Chapter 17. Talisa jerked awake with a start, her heart racing. Sasha quickly put a hand on her arm.
Hey, it's okay. You're safe.
As the fog cleared, Talisa looked around and remembered where she was, and the weight of everything that had happened crashed in on her once again. She was sitting on the bed in the back of the RV. Sasha was across from her, and between them, sleeping soundly, was Maggie. The vibration of the RV told Talisa they were still traveling.
How long was I out?
Only about 45 minutes. We should be there within an hour.
Talisa nodded and then looked down at Maggie. She brushed the hair that had fallen in her face back from her forehead and fought the tears that were once again threatening to spill from her eyes. When she looked back up, she saw that Sasha's eyes were bright as well. She reached across Maggie to take her hand, and Sasha closed her eyes and looked away as the tears began to fall.
How did you do it?
Do what?
Sasha looked back at her. Talisa could see the same haunted expression she knew she'd had for so long, and understood the question even before Sasha spoke again.
Figure out how to keep going.
I didn't. I just kept my heart beating and let time do its thing. But I'm not over it. I'll never be over it. I know that's probably not what you wanted to hear, but...
No. It's actually exactly what I needed to hear. Helps me know. It was real.
Talisa ran a hand through Maggie's hair again.
It's why she wanted us back here with her, you know? Because we understand.
I don't think I can do this.
I'm just so...
Lost.
A tear slid down Talisa's cheek as she squeezed Sasha's hand again.
I know, but I'm here. You're not lost, Sasha, because I know where you are. And so does Maggie. You just have to be there for a while, and that's okay. Well, I mean, it's not okay. Nothing is okay right now. But it's normal. This is how you're supposed to feel. Just know that you are never alone.
Sasha closed her eyes tight and fought against the strangled sob that escaped her lips as she nodded. As she'd predicted, it took them another hour to finally reach the gates of Hilltop. When the RV slowed to a stop in front of them, Talisa had the thought that it felt like years had passed since they'd started this trip just yesterday morning. Rick rolled down the driver's side window and looked up at the guards in the tower.
We have an emergency. Maggie Ree, the pregnant woman who came with us before. She needs to see Dr. Carson now.
We have to run it by Gregory before we allow you to.
Chuck opened the damn gate. They said it's an emergency.
They heard the telltale creak, and the gate slowly opened. They pulled into the compound and stopped just inside the gates as Jesus jogged over and threw open the RV door.
What's wrong? Is Maggie...
His voice trailed off as he looked around at all of their blood-spattered and haunted expressions.
What the hell happened to you?
Negan.
Jesus stared at Rick in shock, and Rick shook his head and sighed.
The priority right now is Maggie. We have to get her to Carson. Something is wrong with the baby.
I'll go get him in a stretcher.
He came back just a minute or two later with Dr. Carson and a canvas stretcher between them. Carson went immediately to the back of the bus where Maggie was still sleeping and put a hand on her forehead.
She's running a pretty high fever. How long has she been like this?
She's had the fever since yesterday afternoon. Pain started the afternoon before that. Burning and aching, with intermittent sharp pains as well.
Any bleeding?
No, none.
Carson nodded and then turned to Jesus. They transferred her to the stretcher carefully without waking her, and then carefully brought her out of the RV. Carson turned back to the others as he prepared to carry her to the medical trailer.
I'll go get her checked out and get back to you with some answers as soon as I can. From my preliminary examination, it looks like she'll probably be okay as long as I get her fever down.
And the baby?
It's too soon to tell. I'm going to get an ultrasound as soon as I get her inside and do a heart rate check as well. Her lack of bleeding is a good sign, but we'll just have to see what I find when I have a look. I'll let you know as soon as I can. I promise.
He turned, and he and Jesus took her quickly into the trailer. They all stood around awkwardly, unsure of what they were supposed to do next. The people of Hilltop stared at them warily, and Talisa knew they must be quite the terrifying picture, standing there covered in blood. Eugene walked to where she was leaning against the RV and attempted to put an arm around her, but she stepped back. He looked down at her with a hurt and confused expression.
I want to be sensitive to Sasha.
She shot a furtive look over his shoulder to where she was standing a few feet away and lowered her voice before continuing.
Believe me, haircut, there's nothing I want to do more right now than wrap my arms around you and never let go, but we need to take a beat for a little bit, okay?
She reached down and squeezed his hand to reiterate her words, and he squeezed hers back as he nodded.
Understood.
You doing okay?
Not in even the remotest possible sense of the word. But I'm currently trying like hell to hold it together, as I am fully aware that there are several others in our company far worse off.
She gave him a sad smile and squeezed his hand a second time.
I love you, Eugene.
And I love you.
They both turned, along with the rest of the group, as Jesus walked back down towards them.
All right, so now that Maggie's with Carson, what the hell happened out there? Where's Glenn?
He looked around at all their expressions, and Talisa saw his face fall. Tears came to his eyes as well, as he took a step back and covered his mouth.
Oh God, no.
Rick nodded, without looking up. He kept his eyes on the ground as he spoke, and his voice was thick with emotion.
Abraham, too.
Jesus let out a huff of shock, pressing his palms against his head.
And they took Daryl. They took him with them.
Jesus sank down into a squat, as if he couldn't bear the weight of the information, and clasped his hands behind his neck, staring at the ground. After another long moment, he looked back up at Rick.
I thought you said you got them all. How the hell did this happen?
Rick opened his mouth as if to defend himself, but as he did, Talisa saw his expression change. He began to tremble, and he looked down again as his face crumpled. Michonne put a steadying hand on his arm and stepped around him.
We were wrong. We underestimated them. We underestimated him.
You're damn right you did.
They all looked up again as Gregory came stomping down the hill.
You people talked a lot of big game about how you could take out the saviors. Like that.
He snapped his fingers.
I'll admit I was skeptical, but I gave you the benefit of the doubt. And here we are. You went ahead and started something you couldn't finish. And now to top it all off, you bring your mess back here and drop it on my doorstep. Well, no thank you. You and your merry band of pot stirrers can hop right back in that Rolling Roach motel and get the hell out of here. Trade agreements between Hilltop and Alexandria are hereby dissolved.
This is not the time for this. Negan already knows they brought Maggie here to see Carson, so them leaving now won't change anything. They're staying until he checks her out and clears her, and we're going to help them bury their dead.
What makes you think I'm going to allow their people to be buried in our...
I'm not asking.
Jesus had stepped up and was almost nose to nose with Gregory, who took a step back, looking affronted. Jesus turned back to the group.
I understand if you want to take them back with you, but if you want to take care of them now, we have a spot. Behind the house. We can give them grave markers, and you can visit them whenever you want.
Rick looked over to Sasha, who looked back and gave him a nod of agreement.
Thank you.
Dr. Carson opened the door of the trailer and came back out. They all looked at him, waiting anxiously for his diagnosis.
The baby is okay.
The entire group let out a collective sigh.
She has a small placental abruption. It means the placenta had a partial detachment from the uterine wall. It's unusual for it to happen this early in a pregnancy, but it can be caused by physical trauma, so that may be the explanation.
What do we need to do for her?
She needs rest, and I would suggest she limit her physical activity for the duration of her pregnancy as to not further aggravate it. But as long as those two things are followed, there's no reason to believe she can't carry to term and deliver a healthy baby.
Relief flooded through Talisa, and she let out a long, slow breath. She noticed that the others around her did the same, and several people were crying again, but this time from happiness.
I'd like to keep her here, at least for a few days, for observation.
Now hold on a minute. We can't have these people staying here with the shitstorm they just stirred up. I'm not risking bringing that down on our heads.
We won't stay. We can't. We have people to protect back home too. But if Dr. Carson says Maggie needs to stay, she stays.
It was a statement, not a request, and Gregory could plainly see that. He looked nervously from Rick to Jesus, realizing that he was in no position to argue.
Fine, but the rest of you go, within the hour.
We'll go once we bury our people. And I'm leaving one person behind. Maggie's gonna need to get home once she's well enough to, and I'm not making her come by herself.
Sasha stepped forward.
I'll stay. She and I are in this together, and I doubt Negan will have too many questions about why I didn't want to be there when he shows up.
Rick gave her a long look before finally nodding in agreement and turning back to Gregory expectantly. Gregory gave them both an annoyed glare, but then sighed in resignation and put his hands on his hips.
Fine, but get your people buried and get out of here. I've had enough of your drama to last me a lifetime.
He turned and walked back up the hill towards the house, and Rick watched him go, the anger and pain bubbling just under the surface. Jesus walked over to him and put a gentle hand on his arm.
Let's go get them, Rick.
An hour later, they all stood in front of 2 fresh graves. They had marked them each with a pile of stones and a crude cross made out of sticks. Talisa was standing next to Eugene, who had tears freely flowing down his face.
The first thing Glenn ever said to me was, "Hey, you dumbass."
Everyone chuckled slightly.
I was pinned down by walkers, and he saved me. He didn't know me. I was a complete stranger, but he risked his life to save me anyway. That's who Glenn Rhee was. He was strong and capable, and so unshakably and unwaveringly good. He challenged me to be a better man. He was the best of us, and his legacy will never be forgotten.
There were many sniffs and quiet sobs as Rick finished. Eugene looked down at Talisa and smiled before stepping forwards.
I met Abraham Ford on the outskirts of Dallas. He told me I was a survivor. But the truth is, I wouldn't have survived a day without him. He was my friend, my protector, and my judge and jury on the occasion that it was needed. He never shied away from saying things as they were. I often found myself wishing that I would have the courage to take life by the horns the way he always did, without fear. Abraham Ford was my friend. He was my brother, and I can say with complete confidence that from his first day until his last, he was a man who truly lived.
Yes, he was.
Talisa saw Sasha nodding through her tears.
To Abraham and Glenn, you were our family, and we loved you. You will never be forgotten.
After the graveside service, the 7 who were left all climbed heavily back into the RV. Carl headed immediately for the back room and shut the door. Rick took the driver's seat and Michonne sat down beside him. She reached over and put a comforting hand on his arm. He covered it with his for a moment, giving her a significant look, and then turned the engine over. Aaron sat on the bench seat behind Michonne and looked pointedly out the window, not speaking. Eugene sat down at the table, and Talisa immediately slid onto the bench next to him. He opened his arms, allowing her to scoot in close, and then wrapped them around her, holding her tightly and kissing the top of her head. Talisa looked up to where Rosita was sitting across from them, staring blankly down at the table as if she wasn't really seeing it. Talisa reached across and slipped her hand into Rosita's, giving it a squeeze. She looked up in surprise and met her gaze. She looked from Talisa to Eugene, as her eyes filled with tears. Eugene pulled one arm away from Talisa and took Rosita's other hand. She closed her eyes tight as the sobs began in earnest, and the 3 of them sat like that. clinging to each other for comfort as they began their journey home. No one spoke much in the 6 hours their return trip took. They had left Hilltop around noon, so it was already twilight by the time they reached the gates of Alexandria. When they were still a little ways off, just close enough to see the gates in the distance, Rick cut the engine and turned to the others behind him.
We need to talk about what we're going to say once we get in there. We need to decide how we're going to convince them of the way things are now.
What the hell are you talking about? The way things are is that we're going to go in there, make a new plan, and then go make those saviors pay for what they just did.
Carl, we can't. We tried, and we lost. We lost good people. The only way to keep what we have safe, to keep you and your sister and Enid safe, is to make this deal work.
Are you serious? They killed Glenn and Abraham, and you're just gonna roll over and...
Carl, safety has to be our priority. We can't lose anyone else.
Carl glared at her.
This is bullshit.
He stormed out of the RV, walking down the road towards the gates. Rick put his head in his hands and sighed.
He's young, Rick. He doesn't understand the sacrifice you're making. Doing it this way. We do.
Yes, we surely do.
Rick looked up at them. Talisa leaned forward and covered his folded hands with her own.
We're with you, Rick. We know how hard this is going to be, for all of us. But we've got your back.
Thank you.
It was over an hour before they were finally able to head back to their respective homes. The people they'd left behind asked question after question, and Talisa felt like they told the story at least 100 times by the end. As they finally turned to walk back down the road towards their own homes, she acknowledged that she felt entirely emotionally and physically exhausted. She hadn't felt this drained since after she lost JP. As she took Eugene's hand and made to walk down the road, he stopped. She looked back at him curiously and saw that his expression seemed conflicted, as if he were wrestling with something he was hesitant to put into words.
What's up?
It occurs to me that after the harrowing and downright traumatic events of the past 48 hours...
He met her eye with a heartbreakingly vulnerable expression.
I cannot stand the thought of being alone at this moment.
Me either. So do you want to go to your house or mine?
Eugene looked up at her with wide eyes.
I wasn't intending to insinuate. I am well aware that we have only completed 3 of your required dates for us to...
Eugene.
She stopped his nervous rambling as she put her arms around his neck.
I am so tired I can barely keep my eyes open. I promise you. Currently, that is the last thing on my mind. I just want to keep you close to me, okay?
Close to you is the only place I currently have any interest in being. So I am more than in agreement with that course of action.
Okay, then.
She noticed Rosita walking down the road to their left and had a sudden thought.
Hang on for a second, okay?
She stepped away from him, walking to catch up with Rosita.
Hey. Eugene is gonna come stay with me tonight. And I was thinking, if you didn't want to go home and sleep in that bed, I've got a spare bedroom. We gotta take care of each other, right?
Rosita sighed deeply and looked down at the ground. After another minute, she nodded.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Great. How about you and Eugene go pack up some stuff for a few days and then come over?
Okay, sounds good. I swear to God, there's something about a long, hot shower.
Rosita walked into Talisa's kitchen and sat down at the counter.
Kind of feels like you can handle whatever shit's coming at you, once you have one.
Can I get you something? Food? Tea? Copious amounts of alcohol?
Rosita gave a tired smile and shook her head.
No, I'm okay. I think what I really need is to just sleep for about a week. Hey, where's Eugene?
He's in my room getting changed for bed. I came out here to get us some tea while he did. We're not exactly to the seeing each other undressed stage yet, and I could tell he was nervous.
But you two are sleeping in the same bed tonight, right? Big step.
Yeah, it is. But we're both so exhausted, I doubt it will amount to much more than passing out the second our heads hit the pillow.
The tea kettle began to whistle, and Talisa took it off the burner, pouring the scalding water over the tea bags in the 2 mugs she had on the counter. She left them to steep for a minute and turned back to Rosita, leaning on the island to face her.
How about you? You gonna be okay?
Yeah.
She looked up quickly, blinking rapidly and brushing the tears away.
You know, I promised myself I wasn't gonna shed one more damn tear over him. Damn bastard, making me eat my words even now.
Talisa smirked appreciatively.
I hated him for what he did to me, but I still loved him. Maybe not the way you and Eugene love each other, but I cared. I couldn't help it. And he didn't deserve to go out like that.
No, he didn't. No one does.
Rosita wiped quickly at her eyes and made a noise of frustration, shaking her head.
Ugh, I'm so sick of crying. Would you mind if I raid your DVDs? I want to put on something ridiculous and just turn my brain off for a little while.
I think that sounds like an excellent idea. I'll see you in the morning.
She walked the short way down the hallway to her bedroom in the back left corner of the house. She bumped the door open with her hip and found Eugene standing on the far side of the bed in another pair of his flannel pajama bottoms and a plain blue cotton t-shirt. He was staring down at the bed, seemingly lost in thought.
What you doing, haircut?
He jumped slightly, looking up at her.
Oh, I was realizing as I stood here that I have in fact never shared a bed with anyone, and as such, I'm unsure of how to proceed.
Well, do you have a particular side of the bed you prefer?
I usually gravitate towards whichever side has the closest proximity to the exit for safety reasons, but I am perfectly willing to switch if it's a conflict.
Nope, not at all. I like the side closer to the wall, so that works out perfectly. Now I'm going to grab my PJs and go take care of my nightly routine. I'll be back in just a minute, okay?
She handed him both mugs of tea and gave him a quick peck on the lips before grabbing her pajamas and heading for the bathroom. When she returned a few minutes later, having changed and brushed her teeth, she walked into the room and couldn't help but smile. Eugene had gotten into the bed, but was sitting up fully against the headboard with the blanket over his legs and holding his mug in both hands. He looked so stiff and nervous that she let out a small chuckle.
Is there an aspect of humor in our current situation that I'm failing to recognize?
Nope.
She turned off the light and walked around the bed, climbing in next to him. She scooted close to him and gently turned his head towards her so she could kiss him.
You're just cute when you're nervous, that's all.
Well, then I expect you must find me downright adorable at this particular juncture.
She smiled, kissing him again. After a moment, he sat the mug he was holding down on the side table and pulled her in closer, deepening the kiss. Her heart pounded as he wrapped his arms around her, and she shifted her weight, putting one leg over his. She felt him grab the back of her thigh, pulling her even tighter against him, and slowly sliding it up her leg towards the edge of her pajama shorts. She pulled back and took a deep, steadying breath, looking into his eyes.
I guess maybe I wasn't as exhausted as I thought.
She moved back slightly, but stayed close, allowing him to wrap his arms around her, and rested her head on his chest.
Are you all right?
I'm supposed to be asking you that question. I cared about them both a lot, but I didn't know them like you did. Especially Abraham. He was your family.
If there is one thing I know for certain about you, it is that the amount of time is utterly insignificant when it comes to that big and beautiful heart of yours. You loved them both dearly, and I know you also thought of them as your family. You have just as much right as any of us to grieve. And besides that, I'll freely admit that while the entire horrifying ordeal was occurring, one of the thoughts at the forefront of my mind, besides the abject brutality of it all, was of all the terrible memories I knew it would bring up for you, and the fact that you were having to endure something of that magnitude for a second time in just a few short years.
Talisa lifted her head from his chest to look at him, tears filling her eyes yet again.
That's what you were thinking about?
It absolutely floored her that even when he was facing the possibility of his own death, his first thoughts could still be for her well-being.
Of course it was. When I tell you that I love you, I hope you know those are not mere words to me. You are my first thought when I open my eyes, and my last when I close them. Not to mention the majority of the thoughts you occupy throughout the day as well. Your well-being will always be of utmost importance.
Talisa leaned up and kissed him again slowly.
And you refer to yourself as a relationship novice. I think you're more like a prodigy.
Are you absolutely sure this is the course of action you want to take?
Eugene knelt next to Talisa as she transferred items from her DVD cabinet into the hole she'd made in the floor by pulling up a floorboard.
Yes. I spent years building this collection, not to mention all the memories and things that are priceless to me, but those damn saviors wouldn't think twice about smashing to bits. I know I can't hide everything, that would look suspicious, but I'll be damned if I let that bastard take my most precious possessions.
I'm not sure this level of safeguarding is even necessary. Negan made it clear that his primary objective was half of our supplies. He didn't make any mention of our personal belongings.
If Rick wants to play the optimist and believe that when Negan gets here, he's going to be happy to take what we've set aside for him, that's his choice. But I'm not that naive. If you think a man like that isn't going to go out of his way to hit each and every one of us where it hurts, then you've got another think coming, and I, for one, have no intention of letting him.
They looked up suddenly as they heard the crash of the front gate and the sound of several vehicles coming into the compound.
No, it's only been 4 days. He led us to believe they would give us a minimum of a week's time before the first drop-in.
I have a feeling never knowing when or why he'll show up is going to become our way of life.
Eugene helped her quickly stash the rest of her things and put the floorboard back in place. They pulled the rug back over it and positioned the armchair so it was covering the loose board before walking out onto the porch. Saviors were pouring down the main road and breaking off to go into different houses.
Oh God, they have Daryl with them.
He was walking beside Dwight, the man with the scarred face, wearing a soiled white tracksuit with a yellow A painted on the front, and he kept his eyes down purposefully, ignoring what happened around him.
Hey there, pretty lady. This your house?
A tall, overweight man in baggy jeans and a flannel shirt walked up and smiled at her, as if he were asking about the weather.
What's it to you?
He laughed slightly and shook his head.
Listen, you people know the drill by now. We can do this the easy way, or we can do it the hard way. But whichever way you choose, we're going there. So what's it gonna be, honey?
Talisa glared at him, but then stepped unwillingly aside.
Much obliged.
He shot her a wink, and he and several others walked around her and into the house. She lingered in the doorway with Eugene hovering behind her and fought the urge to scream as the men rifled through her things carelessly, ripping pages from her books and knocking her dishes to the floor for no reason other than destruction. The man who had entered first got to her DVD cabinet and opened it with a low whistle. Less than half of her DVDs were still inside, but she could tell he was still impressed.
Now would you look at this? Looks like we're gonna be having movie nights for a while and video games too? You shouldn't have.
Unable to watch anymore, Talisa pushed herself off the doorframe and walked down the steps. Eugene followed behind her as they walked down the street, watching as the saviors brought everything from couches to paintings to items of clothing out of each and every house. About halfway down the block, they saw Negan, strolling purposefully down the street, taking in the chaos with a smile on his face. Rick was walking beside him carrying his bat, which they now knew was named Lucille. As they walked closer, Talisa could hear their conversation.
Say, whatever happened to that sick girl? That seemed like a hell of a stressful night for her, the way she was carrying on. She was married to number 2, right?
Rick's expression hardened as a muscle began to tick in his jaw, a fact that was not lost on Negan.
Careful, Rick. You be careful with how you're looking at me.
Rick held his gaze for one more second and then looked away. Negan smiled in triumph and took a step towards him.
Widows.
He gave a low whistle and shot Rick an indecent grin.
They are special. I love them. Right after their husbands go, they are just empty inside.
He grinned again.
But not for long.
Talisa felt the bile rising in her throat and her hands began to tremble. She had never hated someone so much in her life. If she thought she'd be successful, she would have murdered him right then and there. But as it was, she simply glared daggers at him as he continued to taunt Rick.
So where is she? I would love to see her.
Do you care to pay your respects?
Gabriel had walked up behind Negan, and as he spoke, Negan jumped and spun around.
Holy crap! You are creepy as shit, sneaking up on me like that.
My apologies, I'm Father Gabriel.
Negan looked from him, back to Rick, and then sighed.
She didn't make it?
Rick shook his head.
Wow. That's a damn tragedy. That's what that is.
Tragedy that could have been avoided if we didn't spend all day playing your damn cat and mouse game.
She knew it was a stupid thing to say, even more so considering she knew full well it was just a story, and that Maggie was fine. But she couldn't help it. The anger burning in her was too hot to contain. Negan looked up in surprise to where she was standing.
Excuse me?
He stepped around Rick to get to her.
Was that snarky-ass comment aimed at me?
He walked until he was level with her.
I remember you. You were in the RV, weren't you, Bonnie? And would you look at that? Your trusty sidekick is still right by your side.
He shot a glance over her shoulder at Eugene.
I know I said it before, but I'll be honest. I didn't get the best look at her the other night.
Negan took his time letting his eyes roam over Talisa from top to bottom with a lewd smile, and then gave a low whistle through his teeth before looking back at Eugene.
But I get it. Hell, I'd be willing to throw it all away for an ass like that any day of the week.
Talisa glared up at him, daring him to challenge her expression the way he had Rick's. But on the contrary, her abject hatred seemed to make him even more elated.
So let's go back to what you were saying. Because I kinda got the feeling that after all the shit that went down in that clearing, you're still blaming me for what happened to your friends. Am I getting that right?
All I'm saying is that you made it abundantly clear that what happened was inevitable, so if you want to pretend like you gave a damn about what happened to Maggie, that's her name, by the way, Maggie, you could have just gotten on with it the first damn blockade, but you didn't, because you're a sick fuck. And the torment is what makes it fun, so don't bullshit and act like it's anything else.
Negan stared down at her for another minute, seeming as if he was trying to decide what to do with her. Then he slowly turned his back on her and looked at Rick.
I like her. She's got that fire that you're missing, Rick. What's your name, Sassy Pants?
Talisa.
Well, Talisa, let me set a few things straight for you. If you recall, Simon made you all the exact offer you just described when you got to the damn checkpoint, and Rick told him where he could stick it. Then, you all chose to spend the rest of the day driving around like dumbasses instead of accepting your fate and getting on with it. So how the hell is that on me?
He turned slightly so that he could address her and Rick at the same time.
Now I know you probably don't believe me, but I get how much this sucks for you guys. Number one, that was on me. No choice there, and I'll shoot it straight with you. It was always going to be red. Whether Simon did it right off, or you brought him to me later, his number was up. But the second one, that didn't need to happen. Daryl forced my hand.
The anger welled up in Talisa again and she turned to walk away.
Hey, did I say you could leave?
She turned back, trembling with rage.
Did you have something else to say?
Not particularly, but I think as a show of good faith in our new little agreement that if you're going to walk away from me, you can at least pay me the respect of asking me if I'm all right with you leaving.
Talisa glared at him with as much hate as she could muster.
May I please have your permission to get you the fuck out of my sight? Sir.
He grinned again.
So sassy. Yeah, go on, but don't go far.
She stormed down the street, not sure where she was going. She couldn't go back to her home, and she knew every other house was full of saviors as well. She finally settled for stopping in an alley between two houses she knew were abandoned.
Would you mind telling me what the hell you could have possibly been thinking back there?
Eugene stormed into the alley behind her.
Not now.
Yes, now. You saw firsthand the utter devastation that man can inflict at the slightest of provocations. You cannot go around spouting off at him whenever the whim takes you. I will not stand for it.
Talisa's head snapped up and she glared at him.
You won't stand for it? Who the hell asked you to stand for anything? I don't need your permission. I'll talk to anyone I want, any way I damn well please, Eugene. That man killed our friends. He's destroying our home and laughing while he does it, and there's not a damned thing we can do to stop him. So if I can't change it, I'm at least going to let him know how I feel about it.
At what cost? What end do you think you are achieving by calling him names and letting him know how much you despise him? By my count, all that has served to do is put you more firmly on his radar without changing a damn thing about the predicament that we are in.
What the hell does it matter if I'm on his radar? Who the hell cares if he singles me out more often?
Me!
Talisa stepped back slightly. It was the first time she'd ever heard him truly raise his voice. He seemed on the verge of tears as he spoke again.
The last week has held some of the highest highs and lowest lows of my life to this point. The night we were sitting side by side in the RV, and you confirmed that you do in fact love me, I knew I would do anything, and I do mean anything, to keep you safe. I cannot face even the idea of a world in which you do not exist, and just the thought of you on the end of that bat.
His words broke off as he broke down. Talisa closed the distance between them in 2 steps and pulled him into her arms.
Hey, it's okay. I get it.
She lifted his face and kissed him. She tasted the saltiness of his tears as he kissed her back, and she brushed them away as she looked up at him.
I cannot lose you. I'm sorry for what I said. You're right. Of course, I have no right to tell you what to do in any circumstance.
It's okay. I get it. And I'm sorry too. I let my anger get the best of me. It was the wrong call. I know better. You're not going to lose me.
She tilted his head up so she could look him in the eyes.
Always and forever, right?
Always and forever.
Suddenly, they heard a gunshot echoing from several houses down.
God damn it, what now?
They got to the medical office just in time to see Carl leveling a gun at one of the saviors.
Put some back or the next one goes in you.
Carl, what the hell are you doing? You have to put that gun down now.
No, they're taking all of our medicine. They said only half.
Carl, it doesn't matter. He's going to have heard that shot. And if you're still holding that gun when he gets...
Too late.
They all turned to see Negan and Rick standing in the doorway. Negan looked at Carl and rolled his eyes slightly.
Of course.
Carl.
Negan held a hand up to Rick and walked forward. Carl turned the gun on him and glared.
Really, kid?
You should go, before you find out how dangerous we all are.
Negan raised his eyebrows and looked from Carl to the other faces around the room, and then chuckled.
Well, pardon me, young man. Excuse the shit out of my goddamn French, but did you just threaten me?
He stepped closer, so his face was inches from Carl's.
See, I get threatening Davy here.
He nodded vaguely to the man behind him.
But I can't have it. Not him. And sure as hell not me.
Carl, just put the gun.
Don't be rude. Rick, we are having a conversation here. Now where were we?
He turned back to Carl.
Oh yeah. Your giant man-sized balls. So, here's how it is. No threatening us. I like you, so I don't want to go hard proving a point here. I assure you that you do not want that either. I said half your shit, and half is what I say it is. I'm serious. Do you need me to prove how serious again?
Come on, he's just a kid.
I believe I just goddamn said that I am having a conversation with Mr. Big Balls, one-eyed Rambo over here. Please do not make me repeat myself.
He turned back to Carl.
So what'll it be, kid?
Carl looked at him for another minute and then sighed in defeat and lowered the gun, holding it out to him handle first. Negan took it with a smile and turned back to Rick.
You know, Rick, this whole thing reminds me. You have a lot of guns. There's all the guns you took from my outpost when you wasted my people with a shit ton of your own guns. And I'm betting there's even more, which adds up to a whole ass load of guns. And if this little outburst has shown me anything, it's that I cannot allow that. So, I'm gonna need you to tell me where my guns are, Rick. And I think...
Negan looked up at Talisa with his malicious smile.
Sassy Pants here should be the one to take me to them.
Eugene stepped instinctively forward, but she put a hand on his arm to stop him. Negan raised an eyebrow at him in surprise.
Really?
He stepped closer, so he was face to face with Eugene.
Tell me this big guy, if I wanted to take her, what in the holy hell do you imagine you could do to stop me?
He waited a second to see if Eugene would answer and then smiled smugly as he pushed past him.
That's exactly what I thought. Let's go get my guns, Sassy Pants.
Talisa turned and headed for the door, being careful not to look at him, but he pointedly watched her walk away, leering as he did, and then looked back at Eugene with a mocking whistle.
Sheer perfection.
Talisa walked in the direction of the armory without looking back. After a few seconds, Negan fell in step beside her.
Gotta hand it to you. You got Mr. Geek Squad back there wrapped all the way around your finger. One has to wonder what methods you might have employed to make that happen.
Talisa ignored the comment as she lifted the garage door that led into the pantry. Olivia was standing on the other side.
Hello. I figured you were coming.
He's here for the guns, Olivia.
Armory is inside.
She nodded over her shoulder, heading for the door.
You run the show here?
I just keep track of it all. The rations, the guns, and...
Good. That's smart. Don't let me stop you.
Negan motioned to several of his men, who followed Olivia into the house. As they did, he turned back to Talisa.
Now, while I've got you here one-on-one, Sassy Pants, I'd like to take a minute to point out that I'm not taking a scrap of your food. It's slim pickings in here, and I can't be the only one who's noticed you've got a fat lady in charge of the rations.
You're disgusting.
What I am, sweetheart.
Negan forcefully pushed her until her back was against the wall and he was standing over her, his face inches from hers.
Is pragmatic. If you all starve to death, I don't get shit. So for now, you get to keep your food. How about that?
Talisa leaned closer to him, even though it made her skin crawl, and she saw the amusement in his eyes as she did.
What do you want? A cookie? They're on the shelf in the back.
What I want, sassy pants, is a goddamned thank you. Think you might be able to handle that?
Fuck you.
Even as the words came out of her mouth, she mentally kicked herself. Here she was again, doing the exact thing she promised Eugene she wouldn't, but Negan simply smiled.
Well, I gotta say, it's a little fast for me, but if you're offering...
Talisa put a hand against his chest and shoved him away from her, which made him laugh.
Whew! And she's feisty. I tell you what, sassy pants, you are quickly becoming my new favorite. But we're gonna have to put this little thing we've got going on the back burner for a minute, because Rick and I have a couple more things we still need to discuss. Ain't that right, Rick?
Talisa looked to the doorway and saw Rick standing there. The look on his face was almost unreadable, but Talisa took the opportunity and slipped past Negan and out of the garage. She walked quickly towards her own home and found it mercifully empty. Her things were scattered everywhere. Her couch was gone along with her coffee table, TV, and the entire contents of her DVD cabinet. The chair she'd placed over her hiding spot was on its side, but the rug hadn't been moved. It was her one small solace. She walked down the hall to her bedroom and found it empty as well. She moved to the spot where her bed had sat only hours ago and leaned against the wall, sinking down until she was sitting on the floor. She wasn't sure how long she'd sat there, staring blankly at the far wall. When out of the corner of her eye she saw Eugene appear in the doorway. He looked around the empty room and then came to sit beside her.
Are you all right?
Not even fucking close.
Did he hurt you? Did he attempt to?
No, Eugene. He didn't even touch me. He just wanted to toy with me because he could see how much he got under my skin. That's what men like him do.
She looked over at Eugene.
He thinks I'm manipulating you, and I need him to keep thinking that. We can't be a couple, not when he's here. You can't be protective of me like you were today. He'll use it against us.
You cannot ask me to just stand aside and allow him to...
But I am asking, Eugene. Believe me, I hate it as much as you do, but you were right. I'm on his radar now. And if he knows, he'll use you to hurt me. I can't let that happen. When he's here, you need to stay away from me. Please.
I suppose you haven't given me much choice in the matter, so I will comply with your request.
He was looking anywhere but at her. She put her hand gently on his arm.
Eugene, can you please look at me?
He looked up then, and she could see the pain, fear, and confusion on his face.
I'm doing this because I love you, Haircut. It doesn't change anything between you and me. You're not the only one in this relationship who can't stand the thought of something happening to the other. I need you to be safe too.
And yet, to ensure my safety, you're willing to jeopardize your own and render me essentially useless to do anything about it.
I'm not in jeopardy as long as I let him play his little games. I know men like him, Eugene. How quickly you forget my job from before was talking with murderers and psychopaths. Men like Negan need to be in control, but if everything is too easy, they get bored. As long as I'm challenging him, but letting him believe he's winning, he's going to want to keep me around.
I hate the idea of him toying with you for his own amusement. I don't know if I have the strength to stand by and watch him objectify and harass you without stepping in.
I hate everything about what's happening today, but it's not going to break us, okay?
He wrapped an arm around her and she leaned her head on his shoulder.
I've got an idea. When Negan's here, let's come up with something we can say. Something that nobody else would understand, but it grounds us, reminds us that we're in this together. Like, if I say, do what you want, it doesn't matter anyway to him. What I'm really saying to you is, I love you and we're in this together and he's not going to break us.
And if you were to hear me say something along the lines of, whatever you say, this is your rodeo, what I'm actually saying is that I love you, and I trust you, and I know you have both our best interests at heart.
Talisa smiled and leaned up to kiss him. As she did, she heard footsteps in her living room and looked up quickly as Eric appeared in the doorway.
You guys gotta come. Rick's called a meeting in the church. 2 of the guns are missing from the armory.
When I Fall is a work of fiction based on AMC's The Walking Dead. Any characters not created by the author are the property of said company. The story will continue in the next chapter.